Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our main character. Emma Brooks was nervous. Her heart raced as she walked through the doors of the restaurant, the warm hum of conversations and the clinking of silverware filling the air. The lighting was dim, cozy, and sophisticated, creating a stark contrast to how out of place she felt. She adjusted the second-hand dress she was wearing, the fabric a little worn at the edges, and quickly glanced down at her scuffed shoes. She didn't belong in a place like this, but she'd promised her best friend, Jenny, that she'd go through with this blind date. Emma inhaled deeply, trying to steady her nerves as she walked to the back of the room. "Table 7, she muttered to herself. Her stomach churned, and her palms grew sweaty as she scanned the sea of tables filled with well-dressed people. Then she saw him. A man sitting alone, looking down at his phone. He was sharply dressed, his dark hair neatly styled, and he seemed engrossed in his messages. This must be him, she thought. She took a deep breath and smiled as she approached. "Hi, you must be Kevin," she asked, forcing a friendly tone. The man looked up, blinking in surprise. He seemed momentarily confused, then his lips curved into a slight smile. Hi, you must be Emma," he replied. Emma sat down, still not realizing her mistake. She fidgeted nervously with her napkin, trying to fill the silence. "I know this is awkward. Blind dates are weird, right?" She laughed nervously, trying to break the ice. He smiled softly but didn't say much. His eyes briefly flicked to his phone before he set it aside. "Right," he said, his voice quiet. "Blind dates are something else." Emma laughed again, more to fill the silence than anything. "I know, right? Jenny's been trying to set me up for months, but I've been so busy with work," she said, her words tumbling out. "What do you do?" she asked, trying to steer the conversation away from her own awkwardness. The man leaned back slightly in his chair, studying her with a curious but kind expression. "I work in tech," he said, his tone vague, almost like he didn't want to share too much. "Oh, that's cool," she said, her mind already wandering. "Coding, apps, stuff like that?" He chuckled lightly. "Something like that," he said, his smile widening. Emma smiled back, relieved that the conversation seemed to be going better than she expected. She was about to ask him more when her phone buzzed. It was a message from Jenny. "Hey Emma, where are you?" "I'm at table 7, looking forward to meeting you." Emma's face immediately flushed as she reread the text. She looked up at the man across from her, her heart sinking. "Oh my God," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You're not Kevin, are you?" The man's smile faltered, and guilt flickered in his eyes. "No, I'm not," he said softly. Emma stood up quickly, her face burning with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry. I sat at the wrong table," she stammered, her words tumbling out in a rush. She grabbed her coat and turned to leave, but he stood up too, a strange mix of regret and curiosity on his face. "It's okay, Emma," he said, his voice calm, but she was already rushing for the door, her mind a whirlwind of embarrassment and confusion. She couldn't believe she'd made such a mistake. The man watched her leave, something unfamiliar stirring in his chest. He didn't know why, but for some reason, he felt a strange regret as he watched her go. He hadn't even corrected her at first, too caught up in how genuine she seemed. It was almost like a breath of fresh air in his world of polished conversations and shallow interactions. Back in her small apartment, Emma collapsed onto her couch, groaning in frustration. Her cheeks were still flushed from the humiliation. "Worst date ever," she muttered to herself. Her roommate, Jenny, peeked over her laptop with an amused look on her face. "That bad, huh?" she teased. Emma sighed, grabbing a pillow and hiding her face. "You have no idea. I sat at the wrong table, Jenny. I talked to some random guy for an hour, thinking he was Kevin, and then I bolted out of there like a complete idiot." Jenny couldn't help but laugh softly. "It sounds like something out of a rom-com," she said, amused. Emma groaned again. "I just hope I never see him again." Jenny raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure about that? You said he was nice." Emma hesitated for a moment, a small smile tugging at the corner of her lips. "He was nice," she admitted, but quickly dismissed the thought. "But it doesn't matter. I made a fool of myself." Jenny shrugged. "Maybe it's not the end of the world. People make mistakes. And hey, if he was as nice as you say, maybe he didn't mind. Emma didn't respond, but the thought of him lingered in her mind long after that night. The next day, Emma found herself at the same little cafe she always visited after her shifts. The warm smell of coffee and the soft chatter of the few early customers filled the air, but today, something felt different. Her mind kept drifting back to the man she had met the night before. Kevin, no, not Kevin Liam. She could still picture his eyes, the way he smiled when she nervously blurted out how awkward blind dates were. She couldn't believe she had been so embarrassed, but a small part of her was still curious about him. Who was he really, and why had he not corrected her earlier? Emma sighed and stirred her coffee absent-mindedly, trying to shake off the awkwardness. As she did, her phone buzzed in her bag. It was a message from Jenny. "You won't believe it. Liam Parker's the guest of honor at that charity gala tonight, and I heard he's a tech millionaire." Emma's heart skipped a beat. Liam Parker, the Liam she had mistaken for Kevin? It had to be a coincidence. Or maybe she was just reading too much into things. But something about that name, it couldn't be. She stared at the message, her mind racing. Could he really be who Jenny thought he was? Maybe he was a millionaire after all. Or maybe he was just someone she had completely misunderstood. Emma wasn't sure, but there was one thing she knew for certain: she had to go to that gala. She had no intention of confronting him. In fact, she wasn't sure she even wanted to see him again. But something inside her told her that this might be the only chance to figure out the truth. She quickly replied to Jenny, "I'm coming with you." That night, Emma arrived at the gala in her second-hand dress, feeling completely out of place among the glittering crowd. The ballroom was enormous, its high ceilings decorated with shimmering lights, and the guests were all dressed to impress. Emma stood at the edge of the room, nervously scanning the crowd. She had no idea what she was doing there, but the excitement in the air was palpable. The auctioneer's voice rang out, and she felt a jolt of panic. She couldn't stay here long. She was way out of her league. Just as she was about to turn and leave, a voice behind her stopped her in her tracks. "Emma?" She turned around and froze. It was Liam. He was standing just a few feet away, dressed in a sleek tuxedo, his dark hair perfectly styled. For a moment, Emma couldn't speak. Her mouth went dry as she stared at him, trying to process the situation. He looked every bit the part of a millionaire CEO, but there was no mistaking the familiarity in his eyes. The same eyes that had looked at her across the dinner table just the night before. "I didn't expect to see you here," Liam said, his voice calm, almost amused. Emma took a deep breath, feeling her cheeks flush. I didn't expect to be here either," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "Jenny invited me." He raised an eyebrow, his smile widening. "I see." For a moment, they stood there in awkward silence, neither knowing what to say. Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this was all some kind of cruel joke, but Liam's gaze seemed sincere. After what felt like an eternity, Liam finally broke the silence. "You know, I meant to tell you last night," he said. "I wasn't Kevin. I'm Liam Parker. And I should have corrected you earlier, but there was something about the way you were talking to me. It felt nice." Emma blinked, her mind racing. "Wait, you're Liam Parker?" "The Liam Parker?" He chuckled softly, clearly amused by her shock. "Yes, that's me." Emma didn't know what to say. She had never imagined that the man she had thought was just another guy at a blind date could be a millionaire tech mogul. She felt the ground shift beneath her, her stomach turning with the weight of the revelation. But Liam's smile remained warm, and there was no sign of arrogance in his eyes. "I'm sorry for not being upfront with you," he continued, his tone genuine. "I didn't want to make you uncomfortable. I wanted to get to know you as a person, not as someone who might be impressed by my wealth." Emma stood there, dumbfounded. She wasn't sure if she should be angry, confused, or just laugh at the sheer absurdity of it all. She had been embarrassed the night before because she had thought she was talking to some random guy, but now she realized that this was far more than just a simple misunderstanding. You're not like the others, are you?" Emma asked quietly, her voice shaky. Liam smiled again, and for the first time, Emma saw the warmth in his expression. "No," he said simply, "I'm not." And in that moment, something inside Emma shifted. She wasn't sure what was happening between them, but she knew one thing for sure. Everything was about to change. The music from the gala echoed around the grand ballroom, but all Emma could hear was the steady thumping of her own heartbeat. She couldn't quite process what had just happened. Liam Parker, the man she had thought was just an ordinary guy, was standing in front of her, a tech billionaire, and yet, he didn't seem anything like the men she'd read about in tabloids. He wasn't arrogant, he wasn't flaunting his wealth, and the way he looked at her, there was something so genuine in his eyes. She shook her head slightly, trying to make sense of it all. "So, this is all just some huge mistake, right?" she finally asked, the words slipping out before she could stop them. Liam smiled, his expression softening as he glanced around the crowded room. "It's not a mistake, Emma," he said quietly. "I didn't mean for this to happen, but sometimes life surprises you, and sometimes people surprise you too." Emma bit her lip, looking down at her hands, still unsure of what to make of this situation. She had spent so much time pretending to be something she wasn't, someone who could fit in with people like him, who was worthy of being in a place like this. But now, she felt more out of place than ever. Liam seemed to sense her unease and reached out gently, touching her arm. "I'm not here to judge you," he said, his voice warm. "In fact, I think you're exactly the kind of person I've been looking for." Emma's eyes met his, a flicker of confusion crossing her face. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam paused for a moment, then gave her a small, reassuring smile. "I mean that I've spent so much of my life surrounded by people who care more about what I can offer them than who I actually am. But you talk to me like I was just another person, and that's refreshing. That's something I haven't felt in a long time." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She wasn't sure how to respond. She had never imagined someone like him, someone with so much power and money, would want to have a genuine conversation with her. She had always thought that people like him were too busy with their own world to notice someone like her. "You don't have to say anything," Liam added quickly, as if sensing her discomfort. "But I'd like to get to know you better, Emma. Not because of who I am, but because of who you are." Emma's heart skipped a beat at his words. She could hardly believe what she was hearing. Was he really interested in her, or was this just another one of those charity projects he'd taken on to make himself feel good? She couldn't tell, but something in his voice made her think it was real. I don't know what to say," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "I'm not really used to this kind of attention." Liam chuckled softly, his eyes twinkling with amusement. "You don't have to say anything, Emma, but I think we could start with a cup of coffee. A real conversation, no pretense, no strings attached." She hesitated, unsure whether she was ready to dive into whatever this was. But she couldn't ignore the strange pull she felt toward him, the way her heart seemed to beat just a little faster when he was near. "I'd like that," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam smiled, a genuine smile that made Emma's stomach flip. "Great, let's get out of here." As they walked away from the crowd and into the quieter, more intimate side of the venue, Emma couldn't help but feel a little nervous. She had no idea where this would lead, or if it would even go anywhere at all. But something told her that this was the beginning of something important. They sat down at a small table in the corner, the soft lighting giving the room a cozy, intimate feel. For a moment, neither of them spoke, both lost in their own thoughts. Then Liam broke the silence. "I'm sorry for not being up front with you earlier," he said, his tone sincere. "I didn't want to make things awkward, but I've been thinking about it all day, and I wanted to make sure you knew that I wasn't pretending to be someone I'm not." Emma met his gaze, surprised by his honesty. "It's okay," she said softly. "I guess I was a little shocked at first, but I understand why you didn't say anything. I just didn't expect to meet someone like you." Liam smiled again, a soft, knowing smile. "I never expected to meet someone like you either," he said quietly. Emma's heart fluttered in her chest at his words. Could it be possible that this was real? Could she really be standing here, talking to a billionaire, feeling like she was just another person to him? Maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something she had never imagined in her wildest dreams. As the evening wore on, Emma couldn't help but feel like she was in a whirlwind. The soft jazz music played in the background, but her mind was consumed by thoughts of Liam. After their coffee, they had wandered through the quieter parts of the venue, talking, laughing, and getting to know each other in a way that felt entirely real. It wasn't what Emma had expected from a night like this. She had imagined awkward silences, forced smiles, and maybe a quick goodbye. But with Liam, it was different. It felt effortless, like she had known him forever. "So Emma," Liam said, breaking her from her thoughts, "tell me more about your dream. You said you wanted to open an art studio, right?" Emma blinked, surprised by how much he had remembered from their conversation earlier. She had mentioned her dream in passing, not expecting him to really pay attention. But here he was, asking about it like it was important to him. "Yeah," she said, her voice soft but growing more confident. "I've always wanted to open a place where I can showcase local artists and offer workshops. It's been my dream for as long as I can remember, but I don't know. It feels so out of reach sometimes." Liam leaned forward, his eyes locking onto hers. "Why does it feel out of reach?" he asked gently, his voice sincere. "You're an incredible artist, Emma. You've got the passion. You just need the right opportunity." Emma felt her cheeks flush under his gaze. No one had ever spoken to her like that before, especially not someone who had so much to offer. She laughed nervously. "I don't know. I guess I've been working at the diner for so long, just trying to get by. It's hard to believe that something bigger could ever happen." Liam smiled, his expression softening. "You'd be surprised," he said, his voice full of quiet confidence. "You've got the talent, Emma. You just need to believe in yourself. You're capable of so much more than you think." Emma looked down, feeling a knot form in her stomach. She had always struggled with believing in herself. Her dreams seemed too big, too far away, and the reality of her life felt like a constant reminder of how small those dreams seemed. But Liam's words, though simple, stirred something inside her. She had always wanted more, but the fear of failure had held her back. "Thanks," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "That means a lot to me." They sat in silence for a few moments, just soaking in the calm of the evening, the noise from the gala now a distant hum. Then, Liam stood up, offering her his hand. "Come on," he said, smiling. "There's something I want to show you." Emma hesitated but then placed her hand in his, curious about what he meant. He led her through the grand ballroom, out of the main area, and into a small private room at the back of the venue. The walls were lined with paintings, sculptures, and photographs, each piece more stunning than the last. It was like a mini-gallery, but there was something personal about the space. As if it were more than just a display, it felt like an invitation. Emma's breath caught in her throat as she looked around, taking in the beauty of the art that surrounded her. "This is incredible," she whispered. Liam smiled, clearly pleased with her reaction. "It's a private collection," he said, "but I've been thinking about opening it up for a public exhibit. I'd like to feature local artists if you're interested." Emma's eyes widened in disbelief. Was he really offering her this opportunity? "You want to showcase my work?" she asked, her voice shaking. Liam nodded. "I think you've got something special, Emma. This could be your chance to make your dream come true." Emma felt like the room was spinning. She had always dreamed of showcasing her art in a space like this, but she had never imagined it would happen so suddenly, or that someone like Liam would make it possible. She didn't know what to say. She started, but the words caught in her throat. "You don't have to decide right now," Liam said, his voice gentle. "But think about it. This could be the break you've been waiting for." Emma stood there, completely stunned, as Liam's offer sank in. She had come to the gala thinking she was just another girl in the crowd, but now, in a matter of hours, her world had shifted. She had been given an opportunity she never thought she would have, and it had come from the last person she expected, Liam Parker. A tech millionaire who somehow saw something in her. She looked at him, still processing everything, and a small smile tugged at the corner of her lips. "I'll think about it," she said, her voice soft but sure. Liam smiled back, a warmth in his expression that made her heart flutter. "I'm sure you'll make the right choice," he said. As they stood there in the quiet gallery, surrounded by art and the soft hum of the night, Emma realized that sometimes dreams really could come true. Maybe it wasn't about waiting for the perfect moment. Maybe it was about taking the chance when it came. And right now, with Liam by her side, she felt like she was finally ready to take that step. The next few days felt like a dream to Emma, a whirlwind of emotions and possibilities. She had never imagined that one night, one unexpected meeting, would lead to such a drastic change in her life. Liam's offer to showcase her work was something she had only ever dreamed of, and now it was right in front of her. She couldn't stop thinking about it, and every time she tried to picture herself in that gallery, showcasing her art, a part of her felt like it wasn't real. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized that this could be her chance to finally break free from the life she had been stuck in. It wasn't just about the art, it was about proving to herself that she was capable of more. She sat on the edge of her bed one evening, staring at the sketchbook in her lap, the pages filled with unfinished drawings and ideas she had never dared to bring to life. This was her moment, the moment she had always waited for, but the fear of failure still loomed over her. What if she wasn't good enough? What if people didn't like her work? What if this whole opportunity was just a mistake? She shook her head, trying to push the negative thoughts aside. She couldn't keep second-guessing herself. She had to take this chance, no matter how terrifying it seemed. She glanced at her phone and saw a message from Liam. "Hey Emma, I was thinking about you today. I know it's a big decision, but I just wanted to remind you that you've got this. No pressure. Take your time." She smiled at his words, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. He had always been supportive, encouraging her to follow her dreams, and that meant more to her than he probably realized. She quickly typed a response. "Thanks, Liam. I really appreciate everything you've done. I think I'm ready." Her fingers hovered over the keyboard for a moment before she hit send. Feeling a sense of determination surge through her. This was it. She was going to make her dream a reality. The following week, Emma found herself standing in front of the gallery, her heart pounding in her chest. It felt surreal to be here, to see her art displayed on the walls of such an elegant space. She had worked tirelessly to prepare, putting in countless hours to get everything just right. It was a bit overwhelming, but also incredibly exciting. Liam was by her side, as he had been through this entire process, offering advice and guidance when she needed it. He had even gone out of his way to make sure everything was perfect, and it meant the world to her. As they walked through the gallery together, Emma couldn't help but notice how different she felt. It wasn't just about the art, it was about everything that had led her to this moment. She had come so far, from working at the diner to standing in a space like this, surrounded by people who appreciated her work. She had made it. And as she looked at Liam, she felt a surge of gratitude. He had been the one to give her this opportunity, to believe in her when she hadn't believed in herself. "I can't believe this is real," she said softly, her voice full of awe. Liam smiled and placed a hand on her shoulder. "It's real, Emma. You earned this," he said, his voice filled with pride. Emma felt her chest tighten at his words. She had worked so hard for this, but it wasn't just about the recognition. It was about the journey, the growth, and the person she had become along the way. She had learned to believe in herself, to trust in her abilities, and to take risks, even when the fear seemed overwhelming. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Liam gave her a gentle squeeze, his expression soft and encouraging. "You've got a long way to go, but this is just the beginning. You've already proven that you can do anything." Emma looked around the gallery, taking in the vibrant colors and the beautiful pieces of art that now filled the walls. It was hard to believe that just a few months ago, she had been struggling to make ends meet, questioning whether her dreams would ever come true. But now, standing here, she knew that anything was possible. The door to the gallery opened, and a few guests began to trickle in. It was time for the opening, and Emma felt a wave of nervous excitement wash over her. She had prepared for this moment, but now that it was here, she wasn't sure she was ready. But as she glanced at Liam, standing next to her, offering her that reassuring smile, she realized that she didn't have to be perfect. She just had to be herself. The night unfolded with laughter, compliments, and connections. But through it all, Emma felt a sense of peace she had never experienced before. She was exactly where she was meant to be, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like everything was falling into place. As the event came to a close, Liam turned to her, a playful smile on his face. "So, how does it feel to be the star of the show?" he asked. Emma laughed, her heart light. "I don't know," she said, looking around at the guests who had gathered to admire her work. "But I think I'm just getting started." Liam's smile widened, and he nodded in agreement. "I think you are." And in that moment, Emma knew that no matter what happened next, she had already accomplished something incredible. She had taken a chance on herself, and it had paid off in ways she never could have imagined. The weeks following the gallery opening were nothing short of transformative for Emma. What had started as a simple opportunity to showcase her art had turned into a whirlwind of new connections, opportunities, and self-discovery. Liam had continued to be a steady presence in her life, offering support when needed but always giving her the space to grow. She spent her days working in the gallery, meeting more people who appreciated her art, and learning what it truly meant to pursue her passion. But the more time she spent in the world of successful artists, the more she realized how far she still had to go. There were moments when self-doubt crept in, when she looked at the polished, confident people around her and wondered if she truly belonged. It was on one of those days, sitting in the quiet of her small apartment, staring at her sketchbook, that her phone buzzed. She picked it up and saw a message from Liam. "I've got something to show you. Meet me for coffee?" Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had gotten used to Liam's encouraging words, but something about this message felt different. Her mind raced as she wondered what he had planned. Was it another opportunity? A new project? She wasn't sure, but the curiosity gnawed at her. She quickly typed out a response. "Sure, I'll be there in 20. When she arrived at the cafe, she found Liam already seated at a corner table, a folder resting in front of him. His expression was unreadable, but there was a glint in his eyes that made Emma's pulse quicken. "Hey," she said, sitting down across from him, her voice a little nervous. "What's going on?" Liam smiled, his usual calm demeanor masking the excitement she could sense underneath. "I've been working on something, and I think it's time you saw it," he said, opening the folder and pushing it toward her. Emma's breath caught in her throat when she saw what was inside. It was a proposal, a business plan for a new art foundation, one that would support emerging artists like herself. It wasn't just about displaying artwork. It was about creating a space where artists could thrive, receive mentorship, and grow in ways they couldn't on their own. "Liam, this is amazing," Emma breathed, running her fingers over the proposal, her mind racing. "You want me to be a part of this?" He nodded. "I've seen the potential in you from the start, Emma. You're more than just an artist, you're someone who can help others find their voice too. I believe this could be your next big step." Emma felt her heart swell with emotion. This was more than she had ever imagined. She had gone from a struggling waitress with big dreams to being offered a chance to shape the future of other artists. She was speechless, trying to process everything that was happening. I don't know what to say," she admitted, her voice shaky. "This is beyond anything I ever expected." Liam smiled warmly, his gaze steady. "You don't have to say anything right now, Emma. Just know that this is an opportunity for you to make a real impact, not just in your own life, but in the lives of others." She took a deep breath, her fingers still lightly grazing the papers in front of her. Could she really take on such a responsibility? Was she ready for this? But as she looked at Liam, the man who had believed in her from the beginning, she realized that the answer was clear. She had come this far by believing in herself, by trusting the opportunities that had come her way. This was the next step in her journey. "Yes," she said finally, her voice filled with newfound certainty. "I'm ready." Liam's face lit up with a smile that made Emma's heart flutter. "I knew you would be," he said. "I'm excited to see what you'll do with this. You've got everything it takes." The weight of what was ahead of her felt heavy, but in a good way. For the first time in her life, Emma truly believed that she had the power to make a difference. And with Liam by her side, she knew she wasn't alone. Over the next few weeks, Emma threw herself into the new project. She worked tirelessly to help shape the foundation, organizing workshops, reaching out to other artists, and creating a community that felt as real and as supportive as the one she had always wanted. It wasn't easy. There were challenges, moments of doubt, and days when it felt like everything was moving too fast. But with each step, Emma grew stronger, more confident, and more certain that this was what she was meant to do. And throughout it all, Liam remained her biggest supporter, offering guidance and encouragement when she needed it most. It wasn't long before the foundation started to take shape, and Emma began to see the impact it was having. Artists from all walks of life were coming together, finding a sense of community, and learning how to thrive in a world that often overlooked them. Emma had created the space she had always dreamed of, and more importantly, she had built it with the people who mattered most, those who believed in her, and those she could help. As the months passed, Emma and Liam's partnership grew deeper, and their connection stronger. What had started as a chance meeting at a blind date had turned into something neither of them had ever expected. But through it all, they had learned that sometimes the greatest opportunities come when you least expect them, and that together, they could create something truly remarkable. As Emma stood at the front of the crowded room at the Foundation's first major event, she couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. The walls around her were covered with art from local artists, all of it vibrant, colorful, and full of emotion. It was exactly what she had always envisioned. A place for artists to not only showcase their work, but to feel seen and supported. The guests mingled, their conversations filled with admiration for the art, but Emma's focus remained on the event's success. She had worked tirelessly for months to make this day a reality, and now that it was here, she could finally see the impact. There was a soft murmur of approval as the event went on, and Emma could see the excitement in the faces of the artists whose work was being displayed. She had given them an opportunity they hadn't had before, and it was clear that they appreciated it. But even as she basked in the success of the event, A part of her felt like there was still something missing. She looked over at Liam, who was standing across the room, engaged in conversation with one of the guests. He had been by her side every step of the way, offering advice and encouragement, but tonight, something felt different. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was more between them than just business partners. It wasn't just his support that had helped her build this foundation. It was the way he had always believed in her, even when she didn't believe in herself. Their partnership had grown over the months, evolving into something deeper, but she had never stopped to fully process what that meant. Was it just gratitude on her part, or was there something more? She took a deep breath and walked toward him, her heart pounding in her chest. As she approached, Liam turned to face her, his expression softening when he saw her. "Hey," he said with a smile. "How's it going? Everything looking good?" Emma returned the smile, though she could feel her nerves rising. "Yeah, everything's going great," she said, her voice steady. "But I think we should talk." Liam raised an eyebrow, concern flickering in his eyes. "Talk?" he asked, his voice gentle. "About what?" Emma hesitated, unsure of how to put her feelings into words. She had never been good at expressing her emotions, especially when it came to something as complicated as this. But standing there with him, feeling the weight of everything they had built together, she knew it was time to be honest with herself and with him. "I don't know how to say this," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I feel like there's something more between us. Something I haven't said, but I think we both know it's there." Liam's eyes softened, and for a moment he didn't speak. He simply looked at her, his expression a mix of curiosity and understanding. Emma's heart raced as the silence stretched between them, but she didn't look away. Finally, Liam spoke, his voice low and sincere. "I've been thinking the same thing," he said, his words surprising her. "Emma, from the moment we met, I've felt something different. I didn't want to rush it, but I can't deny that there's something real here, something that goes beyond business." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She had never expected him to say that, but hearing it made everything feel clearer. "I've never been good at this," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't know how to navigate all these feelings, especially with everything that's going on with the foundation." Liam smiled gently, taking a step closer to her. "You don't have to have it all figured out, Emma," he said softly. "I'm not going anywhere. We'll figure it out together, whenever you're ready." Emma looked into his eyes, feeling the warmth of his words sink into her heart. She had spent so much of her life feeling like she was on her own, but with Liam, everything felt different. He wasn't just offering her a partnership in business, he was offering her something much more valuable. Trust, support, love. She took a deep breath, finally allowing herself to believe in something more. "I'm ready," she said, her voice firm and clear. "I've always wanted to believe in something like this, but I didn't know how. With you, I feel like I can." Liam's smile widened, and in that moment, Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her. It wasn't just the success of the foundation or the recognition of her work that had changed her life. It was the fact that she had someone who truly saw her, who believed in her, and who was willing to walk beside her every step of the way. As they stood there, surrounded by the beauty of the art they had both helped create, Emma realized that this was just the beginning. She had come so far, but with Liam by her side, the possibilities were endless. And for the first time in a long time, she felt like everything was falling into place. She had found not just her dream job, but a partner who made her believe that love, in all its forms, was possible. Together, they were creating something bigger than either of them could have imagined. As the weeks passed, Emma found herself settling into a rhythm that she had once only dreamed of. The foundation was growing, and with it, so was her confidence. She had gone from a small-town waitress with no clear direction to a woman who was shaping her future, building something that could impact the lives of other artists. It wasn't just the foundation's success that filled her with pride, it was the way she had transformed, the way her dreams had become a reality. But as much as Emma thrived in her professional life, there was still a part of her that wondered what the future held for her and Liam. Their relationship had deepened in ways neither of them had anticipated. What had started as a simple partnership had blossomed into something more, something real. Yet, with each passing day, Emma still felt like they were on the edge of something new, something more intimate, something she hadn't yet fully embraced. It was a quiet afternoon when the question finally slipped out of her mouth, almost by accident. She and Liam were sitting in the small office space of the foundation, going over plans for their next exhibition. They had been working closely together, and the chemistry between them was undeniable. Emma found herself smiling at him more often, laughing at his jokes, and feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time: comfort. But it was also something deeper, something she couldn't quite name. "Liam," she started, her voice a little hesitant, "have you ever thought about us? I mean, beyond just this?" Liam looked up from the papers in front of him, his eyes locking with hers. For a moment, he didn't say anything, just studied her, as if weighing her words. Emma's heart began to race, her mind running through all the possible answers he could give. What if he wasn't ready for this? What if he didn't feel the same way? She quickly added, I don't know. I feel like there's something more between us, and I don't want to ignore it anymore." Liam's expression softened, and he stood up slowly, walking over to where she sat. He gently placed a hand on her shoulder, and for a moment, everything else seemed to fade away. "Emma," he said, his voice low and sincere, "I've been thinking about this too, for a long time. I didn't want to rush anything, but I can't deny what I'm feeling." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She had never imagined she would hear those words from him, especially after everything they had been through. Their journey together had started as a business partnership, but now it was something more. "I think I'm falling in love with you," Liam continued, his voice steady and calm. "And I know that we've built something incredible together, but I also want to build something even more. With you, just you." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest, her heart swelling with emotion. She had feared that her feelings for him might have been one-sided, that the depth of her emotions might not be reciprocated. But here, in this quiet moment, Liam was telling her everything she had hoped to hear. "I feel the same way," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I've been trying to ignore it, trying to focus on the foundation, but I can't help it. I care about you, Liam, more than I ever thought I could." He smiled, his eyes bright with happiness. "Then let's stop pretending," he said softly. "We've been building something incredible together, but I want to build something with you. A life, a future, whatever it may be, as long as it's with you." Emma felt a surge of relief, her worries melting away. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she was carrying the weight of her past with her. With Liam by her side, she felt free. Free to be herself, free to love, and free to embrace the future that was unfolding before her. They stood there for a moment, simply looking at each other, the connection between them undeniable. Then, without saying another word, Liam leaned down and kissed her. It was gentle at first, tentative, as if they were both testing the waters. But as their lips met, everything else seemed to fall away. It wasn't just a kiss, it was the beginning of something new, something beautiful, something that would change the course of their lives forever. When they finally pulled away, Emma smiled, her eyes shining with happiness. "I think this is the beginning of something amazing," she said softly. Liam grinned, his hand still resting on her shoulder. "I think you're right," he replied. And in that moment, Emma realized that everything she had dreamed of, everything she had worked for, had led her here to this moment, with Liam standing side by side, ready to face whatever came next. As the months went by, Emma and Liam continued to grow not only as business partners but also as partners in life. The foundation flourished, gaining recognition from artists and art lovers alike. And Emma's dream had evolved into something even greater than she had ever imagined. She had created a space where artists could thrive, be supported, and find their voices. But it was more than just a business, it was a community, a family. With Liam by her side, she felt more confident and capable than she ever had before. They had built something beautiful together, and with each passing day, Emma felt more certain that this was just the beginning of their journey. They spent their days working side by side, their evenings together sharing moments of quiet conversation or laughter. Life had a new rhythm, and Emma couldn't help but feel incredibly lucky. But as much as things had changed for the better, Emma knew that the real transformation had come from within. She had started this journey uncertain of herself, unsure of whether she could truly make her dreams come true. Now, she was a woman who had not only built a foundation, but had also built a future. A future with Liam. It was on a crisp autumn evening, while they were walking through a park near the gallery, that Emma realized how much her life had changed. The trees were painted in shades of gold and red, their leaves crunching beneath their feet as they walked hand in hand. Liam had his arm around her shoulder, pulling her close as they strolled along the path. They had just finished a meeting about a new initiative for the foundation, and now they were taking a moment to enjoy the peacefulness of the evening. "You know," Emma said, her voice soft, I never could have imagined this life a year ago. It feels like I'm living in a dream." Liam glanced down at her, a smile tugging at his lips. "You've earned every bit of it, Emma," he said, squeezing her hand gently. "I'm proud of everything we've accomplished." Emma stopped walking for a moment, turning to face him. "No," she said, her eyes shining with emotion. "I couldn't have done any of this without you. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. You pushed me to take chances, to step out of my comfort zone, and look at what we've built." Liam's smile deepened, and he brushed a strand of hair from her face. "I didn't do it alone," he said softly. "We did it together, and we'll keep doing it together." Emma felt a wave of warmth rush through her, and she knew, in that moment, that they were truly in this together. They had built something real, not just the foundation, but their relationship, their future, and everything that came with it. "You know," she said after a pause, "I used to think that dreams were for other people. People with more opportunity, more luck, more connections. But I've learned that dreams don't just come true on their own. You have to fight for them. You have to believe in them. And you have to trust the people around you." Liam looked at her, his eyes full of understanding. "And sometimes," he said, "the right person comes into your life at the right time to help you make those dreams a reality." Emma smiled, feeling the truth in his words. She had spent so much of her life alone, unsure of herself, unsure of her place in the world. But now, with Liam by her side, she knew that she was exactly where she was meant to be. They were ready to face the future together, whatever it held. "I love you," she whispered, her voice barely audible in the quiet of the park. Liam leaned down, kissing her softly on the lips. "I love you too," he whispered back, his voice thick with emotion. And in that moment, surrounded by the beauty of the autumn leaves and the stillness of the evening, Emma knew that no matter what the future brought, they would face it together. Their love had transformed her life, and she knew that as long as they were together, there was nothing they couldn't do. Emma had built a foundation, a future, and a life she could be proud of, and the best part was, she had built it with the person she loved. As they continued walking through the park, hand in hand, Emma couldn't help but feel that this was only the beginning. There were more dreams to chase, more lives to touch, and more love to give. And with Liam by her side, she knew they would continue to make those dreams come true, together.